Hey everyone, welcome to the Uncanny J-Men. I'm Jade, and today I'm going to be talking about the new Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power TV show that is out on Amazon Prime today. So, it's been out for a few days, you can go see it right now. The first two episodes are out for you to watch, and actually I got the opportunity to see them a little bit early. I didn't make a video right away because I wanted to make sure that the show was out and available for you to watch before I discussed it further. That being said, there may be some minor spoilers ahead. I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler free as possible and just talk about more of the merits of the show on its own. And I'll probably be comparing it a little bit to another show set in the fantasy genre that came out recently, just as a little comparison. So, let's get started. The Rings of Power takes place long before the events of Lord of the Rings, and partially has to do with this book, the written book, The Silmarillion, other stories, and it follows. This is all what we know from before the trailer, so don't worry. This is not our part that should be considered spoilers, but it does follow Galadriel. We know Galadriel from the Lord of the Rings movies, and we follow that elf along her journey to where she ends up being like the queen elf in the woods. So what did I think? First of all, let me talk about, I got to see it early. I got to see it 2 days early. Went to a theater. I was able to jump on to this one website at the right time, have a Cinemark account, was able to get into a theater 2 days early to see the first two episodes on the big screen. And you know what? They threw in a $10 voucher for concessions for free. So it was all a free experience. I just had to go there and have gotten those tickets. So me and 5 of my friends went and saw it in theaters together. So I rewatched it on TV, not on the big screen, to make sure I could kind of tell the difference between being able to see it in such a large screen with great sound and everything, and seeing it at home, which is what Amazon Prime is going to be for. A lot of people are just going to watch it at home when they have an opportunity. Some people watch it as soon as it comes out. Others may wait a little while. So, the merits of the show on the big screen. Let me talk about a few things, first of all. It is beautiful. This show is gorgeous. It has the production value level of the movies, but in a TV show. So it is absolutely gorgeous. The characters, there's a few characters that you know from Lord of the Rings. There's a few new characters, actually plenty of new characters. We see some language that it may be confusing to some if you're only familiar with the movies, not with the books or any of the lore or history behind Lord of the Rings. So there are some terminology that you're really like, oh, those are this group of people. And then you're told in the show, actually, no, we call them a different name. These are like the precursor to those. They don't explain that very well, but you just have to know those are basically the same types of characters. This show does follow multiple characters along the way, so it does kind of jump. It's not just Galadriel. It is kind of following the Sauron's rise, or second rise, or his comeback, It's about Sauron and the hunt for Sauron after he disappeared for a little while, before he came back prior to the events of Lord of the Rings. So seeing those gorgeous things on the big screen, seeing the cities, the towns, the large landscapes, all these characters, this kind of like fire, magic, all these different things on the big screen, of course, was amazing. I mean, it was awesome. But there are also some negatives. It was definitely not made for the big screen. They would have tested it as such if that was the case. And there were some scenes that I will say have like a strobing effect. So there's at one point a storm. This is not really something that's going to be a spoiler because you're like, that could happen at any moment. There is a storm happening and there's a lot of lightning. And so there's a lot of flashes in theaters with just a giant screen. That being lit up, I honestly had to be like, the whole scene, because it was too bright. It was too much for that area. Watching it again at home didn't feel as bad. It was still very bright, but it's a smaller screen. I do have a pretty decent sized screen, but it's nowhere near a movie theater size. So it was a little bit better watching it at home, honestly, as an experience for the graphics and the show itself. But you can't beat the experience of going to a theater, being with friends, talking about it, getting hyped up, going to see a, I mean, getting free concessions. I got a drink and some candy and to watch the show. Awesome. I think it is definitely meant for TV, so I'm glad that everyone else will be able to see it on TV. That being said, I'd probably go back to the theater if they gave me the opportunity, just because that was an awesome experience as a whole. The show itself, I think it's really well done. I'm glad that 2 episodes came out to start off with, because the first episode, heavy exposition. They talk a lot about things and build things up and get characters developed and introduce them, and it's a lot for the first episode. But in the second episode, they build upon those things and really start the storytelling of what's happening, where they're going, what's going to be the main point, the plot, the subplots, all of that in the second episode. And the second episode was amazing. Absolutely worth the first episode being maybe a little bit slower. That being said, they're only doing the first 2 together. After that, it'll be 1 every week. I believe it comes out on Fridays. So if you do have Amazon Prime and you have Amazon Prime Video, go ahead and watch it every Friday. I'm going to be watching it every Friday. And depending on if you guys like, I mean, this is mostly spoiler free. I'm happy to have a spoiler one in here as well. So if you guys do like this more, please like, subscribe. I will have more of this. One thing I will say that's good comparison, because they're both shows that came out around the same time and started up, is a lot of people have been comparing the Lord of the Rings show with Game of Thrones. While they're both kind of a fantasy genre shows, they are very different intents behind them. One is very much more aimed towards the adult audience, a lot more like dark and gruesome and adult themes throughout it. And then Lord of the Rings is a lot more just like high fantasy of fantastic things happening. And there's a lot more wholesome elements in it and lore building. And I love that the lore building between the two are fantastic. They are very different shows. I'm going to take them very differently. The only comparison I'm making is because other people seem to be comparing them coming out at the same time. They're both very good in their own right, and I'm loving watching both. One thing I will say, Lord of the Rings, it is definitely something that they are skipping over some lore. They're hiding things from you. If you read the books, if you know more about some Tolkien history, it's a prequel. It's something that's already been written about. It's something that we know leads into Lord of the Rings. So there are some things that kind of have to happen. And if you know they're going to happen, it may take a little bit of that spice out of events. So keep that in mind. If you don't know a whole lot, but you love the world, you love the movies, this is going to be right up your alley. Please go watch it episode after episode. If you want me to do more, again, like, subscribe, let me know in the comments if there's certain things from the shows you wanted me to discuss in particular. I'm happy to do a dive on some Lord of the Rings lore, maybe what's coming up for the show. Let me know below. Happy to do it. Have a great day.